I'll start with Mr. Daniel Ofori's petition. It is a petition with the most claims. Only 2 out of the several allegations he's making involve him personally as a court user. In one of those allegations, Mr. Daniel Ofori is urging that I should be removed as Chief Justice because I transferred a case in which he's a party from one judge in the High Court to another. That is the crime. In the second allegation, Mr. Ofori accuses me of transferring a case related to the first one so that to the new judge who took over his case, after a petition had been sent to me to have the 2 cases heard together. Indeed, in the year 2020, I wrote a dissenting opinion in one of Mr. Ofori's cases in the Supreme Court. He won that application because my dissenting opinion was a minority opinion of 3 judges. The other 4 judges supported his application. After this, his lawyers applied that I should not sit on his cases again because I had presided over a different case involving him in the High Court when I was in the High Court in, I think, 2010, which he had also lost. Since then, I have not sat on any matter involving the gentleman. In 2 allegations, he is complaining that I misappropriated public funds to buy a ticket for my husband and my daughter to travel with me. In answer to this, I handed over my letter of appointment to prove that in my conditions of appointment as Chief Justice, Ghana graciously gave me 2 vacations in a year. In the Judicial Service travel policy, since 2010, the Chief Justice can never travel alone for security reasons. And the Chief Justice is always allowed to travel with a spouse or another person of their choice. So traveling on my officially given vacations with my husband on one occasion and my daughter for the second vacation is part of the official conditions of my appointment as Chief Justice. Ms. Ofori seems to be alleging that I should have traveled with my police escort alone on vacation and not a family member. And this is why he wants me removed from office. And I'm being tried or heard behind the walls of a Edu Lodge. Ladies and gentlemen, the question to be asked is, why would anyone before when they rode with me and I have misappropriated the per diem they were given? The question to be asked is, why would anyone demand that I go on vacation given to me as Chief Justice with my police security instead of going with my husband or my daughter? And how can this be a reason for subjecting a Chief Justice to a committee of inquiry? In the petition I received, Mr. Ofori also complains that my family members should not have been given per diem when they traveled with me, and I have misappropriated the per diem they were given. But anyone reading the Judicial Service travel policy will find that it provides that when the Chief Justice travels with anyone, whether police escort, another judge, secretary, or a spouse, that person is given per diem. And the rate of per diem is not set or administered by me as Chief Justice. It is regulated and administered by the Finance Directorate and the Judicial Secretary. Mr. Daniel Ofori's petition contains allegation that I transferred one member of staff to work on a different schedule, and that is why I should be removed as Chief Justice. He also alleges that I have refused to reinstate 2 members of staff whose appointments were terminated around 2015, 10 years ago, when I was nowhere near being Chief Justice, and whose issues are still being heard in court. He goes on to allege that I should be removed for terminating the appointment of 2 staff members who went through disciplinary proceedings that were initiated by reports against them before I became Chief Justice. Though it is not clear to me why Mr. Ofori should demand that the Chief Justice should be removed for transferring a member of staff or being the final authority to sign any termination letter, I handed over to His Excellency the President records covering every administrative step on these matters, supported by the due process administered by the right officers. And yet, without issuing a prima facie determination, a warrant of suspension was signed, and now I'm defending myself where there is no petition on the table. The former Judicial Secretary as Judicial Secretary when she was a judge, and so I have made her inefficient. Now, anybody who cares to know the records which I handed over to His Excellency the President was that she became Judicial Secretary in 2018. She became a judge in 2019. I was nowhere near being Chief Justice. I was appointed in June 2023. Ms. Ofori also alleges that I have appointed judges as registrars, and this has introduced inefficiency into the management of courts. Again, the records will show that the Judicial Council decided in May 2023, before I was appointed Chief Justice, that lower court judges should be appointed as registrars of the Supreme Court. So what I did was just to implement the Judicial Council's decisions. Then, Ms. Ofori alleges that a certain gentleman, not himself, but someone, who had a case in the Supreme Court in January 2024, met a different panel in May 2024, 5 months later, so I should be removed as Chief Justice. He also claims that I refused to fix an application in a case that did not involve him in Accra, which case was pending in Koforidua, so I should be removed as Chief Justice. He complains that I supervised the Judicial Secretary to administer a decision of the General Legal Council, which was taken before I became Chief Justice. Then he complains that I recommended judges to be appointed to the Supreme Court. Yet, despite all the evidence provided, there is a hearing being conducted at Edu Lodge. I have taken this walk through Mr. Ofori's petition to show that the allegations have no bearing whatsoever on any sensitive national issues or public safety or order, or my inability to perform my functions as Chief Justice. They also do not have any basis in law or truth. They are just an attempt to gather a lot of complaints together, regardless of whether they are true or not, whether they are justified or not, just to have an excuse for the conduct of this inquiry that breaks all the rules of fair hearing. Behind me is every judge in the country. Behind me is every commissioner or head of an independent constitutional body in the country. If this is successful, it will be tried on anyone. I am not countering these processes for myself, but on account of the leadership burden that I carry. If the nation is willing to accept these developments in its democratic journey, it must be understood that I sounded the warning and the nation took the decision to be passive about it.
What is your take on that? Share it in the comment section. Don't forget, this is news on WIDERmedia, and I am Ohima Wider. Thank you.